Welcome, everyone. We have no show open. Joel almost started the show. Welcome, everyone. This is True Crime News with the COE. Eventually, we'll have a show open. And welcome to this new channel. We're really excited to get started. Joel, why don't you introduce yourself and explain a little bit what this channel will be?
All I can say is I wish you guys were here the last 10 minutes. Excuse me. You would have gotten insight into my life. The COE claims that her Wi-Fi is not working, which is perfect for an opening show. She then proceeded to tell me that the dogs are a disaster. That would be Fred and Ethel. And we'll get into all that as we go here. But some breaking news, some serious breaking news off the top. There is a new White House press secretary. I do not know her name because I just haven't learned it yet. However, I do know she is the youngest White House press secretary ever, 27 years old. It's a tough job to have at 27. But needless to say, she just addressed the drone issue over New Jersey. You know, the drones that everyone was seeing. And according to her, per the President of the United States, those drones, the majority of them had FAA permission. They were allowed to be there, supposed to be there. And the president, Caroline Levitt. Thank you, Boston Sarah. I should know that. Thank you, Boston Sarah. I should know that. Anyway, long story short, the drones, per the President of the United States, says we are not under attack. And now I feel much better. I feel like I can continue on with my day and all will be well in the world. COE, why don't you tell the audience before we get into the specifics of Maddie Soto? You just bounced me backstage in the middle of this?
No, I didn't. You bounced yourself. All right, guys. So I just want to welcome you to this show. So I am the host, and my co-host is Joel. Many of you guys already know him. And we are going to be launching various episodes on this channel throughout the week. I will have live shows, and sometimes I'll have a co-host or a best guest join me, and sometimes we'll just deep dive into various things. Today, we are going to be discussing Maddie Soto. So let's pull up her photo here. And Joel, while most of the people here are regulars who already know a lot of this case, why don't you give us a quick synopsis as I bring in some elements here?
It's a good thing there's only 145 people watching. And this could very well be my last show here. This is my beautiful wife. Let's put it this way. She's not the most organized human being in the world, but she does a great job. So,
Joel,
and I'll end up getting
move on. I'm serious. Focus on the show.
Maddie Soto. Obviously a really serious story. COE and I have been on it for since it happened. And it happened, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary. February 26, 2024 is when Maddie was reported missing in Osceola County. It actually, that she may have been reported missing. I do not know where Kissimmee is. It actually might be in Orange County. But she was supposed to be at school that day. She never shows up. 2 days after she goes missing, a guy named Stephan Sterns, you're going to hear a lot more about, he gets arrested. He is very important because he is the boyfriend of Maddie Soto's mother, Jen Soto. 2 days after his arrest, so now 4 days after Maddie Soto is reported missing, they find Maddie's body. She's 13 years old in a rural part of Osceola County, which is all kind of the Orlando area. And this is why this trial is going to be held in Osceola County. Now, Stephan Sterns is the accused, and there are 2 trials for him. It's still, for me, hard to, grasp this, why he's not being kind of tried for everything at once, but apparently he's being tried for the SA charges separately from the murder charge. So the SA charge trial is supposed to actually begin February 24th of this year, which would be 2 days shy, 2 days shy of a year since Maddie was reported missing. So he will be going on trial. I will be there, of course. Orlando is a quick trip for us. So I'm going to head up there for that trial. It's going to be tough to watch this alleged monster in a courtroom, but I'm going to go up there and I'm going to report on it. After about 12 weeks after the body was found, he was charged with 60 new charges. 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12, 5 counts of sexual battery with a child 12 to 18, 7 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation, 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting special performance by a child, 10 or more images. By the way, on a serious note, the COE has been working behind the scenes to put together the second channel. It's going to be a work in progress. It's going to move fairly slowly, but we want to get kind of a right rhythm, the right people. And these are going to be best guests and the COE. And if you saw the last show on the other channel, Doug McGregor, the geo profiler, I don't know if the COE can pull it up, but maybe at the end of the show we'll pull up. He put together a little teaser of what to expect from his show. And then we've got Rob DePico and Dr. Detective. So that is a little bit of a Maddie Soto wrap up. This is one of the most difficult cases that you can cover. And just, it's incomprehensible that this could happen to a 13-year-old. She's obviously there with Jen and Stephan, her mother, Jen. And now this beautiful young girl is no longer with us. By the way, I like in TV news parlance, that's known as a bug, and it's ironic because I call the COE, her nickname is Bugs, but the thing on the upper right hand corner is known as a bug in the TV news world, and it says True Crime News COE. So there you have the summary.
Thank you for the synopsis, Joel. And so, again, I do want to take a minute to remember Maddie Soto. That is the 13-year-old that you guys are seeing here on camera. Now, today, our entire show was focused on video, which, of course, is not playing for some reason. We have about 9 pieces of video. I'm still going to pull it up for you. We're just going to have to do it on the fly. Luckily, I think Court TV has that. So I will pull it from them. Thank you. And shout out to Court TV, who Joel is often a guest on that show. But before we get to some of the audio that is really disturbing, because you get to hear Jen Soto, Maddie's mom, explain what happened from her perspective, I do want to share some of the latest news in this case. So there was a deposition on January 7th of this year. And you guys might recognize this woman. This is Meredith McCaskill. She was the senior crime lab analyst for the Sarah Boone case. But she is also the senior crime lab analyst in this case, and she's an expert in biology DNA for Florida police. And she did have a deposition just 2 weeks ago where she was going over some of the DNA in this specific case. So that's really important. And following up with that, there are another dozen witnesses or so that are being deposed, and the next one is happening tomorrow, and that's Madison Brady. Now, this is a photo of Madison Brady. She was the 7th grade counselor for Maddie Soto at the time. I've tried to confirm and I can't find anything, but I do see that she's been removed from the school's page. So I think she is no longer working there, which honestly, after dealing with all of this, I don't blame anyone who would want to leave the school. But I just want to give you guys some updates here. So tomorrow, January 29th, she is expected to be deposed. And what we know about her is that she was interviewed by police, and she told them that she had met with Maddie Soto 6 times, and that during those times, Maddie had told her that she was dealing with a feeling of a sense of panic, with feeling overwhelmed, with anxiety. She also told the counselor that she was meeting a therapist once a week to deal with all of those feelings, and that Maddie had told her that she lived with her mom's boyfriend and with her mom, and that her mom's boyfriend often made her feel uncomfortable, and she labeled him as weird. And when the counselor asked her what that meant, she never really gave an explanation, but she made it very clear that she thought he was weird and she thought Stephan Sterns made her feel uncomfortable. She did also tell the counselor that she was happy, though, because she had heard that he was going to be moving out and she was looking forward to that. She says that they obviously only spoke 6 times during these different meetings, but that she never reported anything inappropriate. So that's all supposed to be discussed tomorrow.
COE, if I can jump in here, if that's
Yeah, please
okay.
do.
Um, so this, by the way, this is a seventh grade counselor. She almost looks like she's in seventh grade. I can't believe how young she is. But number one, as the parents here of three kids, the two oldest are girls, a 10 and a 9, soon to be 11 and 9. This is number one, just heart wrenching to read. But the first thing that comes to mind here is, why isn't she on the faculty list anymore? And number two, obviously you have to deal with the criminal case here, but I'm wondering if there's any liability with the school, because obviously she was talking to this counselor and saying she felt, as you see here, panic, overwhelming feelings, anxiety. She went to a weekly therapist, and it even told her that her mom had a boyfriend who was weird and made her feel uncomfortable. So these are all, I mean, it's beyond obvious that they are red flags. This is like,
But I think it's easy to say it's a red flag now that we know everything.
uh,
I do think that these feelings are quite often normal feelings. And obviously, I don't have any kind of medical background. I am a mother of three. And I do think that kids often do feel overwhelmed. They feel anxiety. They feel all of these things. There are a lot of kids that are getting help for a lot of what's going on around them. Obviously, Maddie was in a very unique situation and a very heartbreaking situation. But I do think it's hard to pin this on one particular person, aka a counselor, when there were so many other people in Maddie's life, like her
yeah,
mother, who were
I,
close to her and
I'm
watching what
not,
was going on.
I'm not blaming her. I'd actually be curious to hear from STS Nation here, what your thoughts are. I mean, in no way am I saying that this woman is like culpable. I'm just saying I'm wondering like how much she actually talked to this counselor, also the therapist. And I don't know, um, COE. It's hard for me not to call you bugs, but COE. I don't know. Um, what the law is regarding a child therapist, but if she was seeing a therapist, once a week, or whatever it was, and she was telling this therapist, that her mom's boyfriend is touching her, making her feel weird. I mean, I would imagine that if you're under a legal age, that the therapist would have some sort of responsibility to report this. Again, I don't know, so I'm not taking shots at the therapist or this seventh grade counselor. Obviously, people are also, because I'm seeing in the chat that the mother was willfully in denial, as Best Nancy put it. But I'm just curious to get your guys' thoughts on if you think that this counselor and/or a therapist should have acted, I don't know, with more vigor and tried to take care of this. Here's Nicole Longo, COE. The counselor has, oh, look at this, has no, oh, has. The counselor has an obligation to report. That's what I thought.
Of course, of course. If she's revealing enough information that's concerning, then absolutely. I think the interesting part with this case, as I'm reading so much of the evidence and hearing all of the different interrogation videos and interviews with police, is that a lot of people had different pieces of the puzzle, but no one was really able to bring it together. The only people that really could have and should have was Maddie's mom and obviously Stephan Sterns, but everyone else was just saying bits and pieces. And that's very clear here with Maddie's English teacher. So he's also going to be deposed tomorrow. His name is Italo Brett. He now runs the
Are
choir at
are
Hunters
they,
Creek Middle
hold on,
School.
is this school run by middle schoolers? This kid looks like he's 13 also. I don't mean to make
Joel,
light of a heavy fel
they're
I'm
all in their
sorry.
20s and 30s. Some
This kid
people look
looks
more
like he's
youthful than others. Get over it.
14, this kid. Go ahead.
Some people have good genes, Joel. I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you. Going back to this, what I found really interesting about this is, again, this is Maddie's English teacher, Mr. Brett, and Mr. Brett noted that Maddie was quiet and that she was often sleepy. And he said that there were weeks, sometimes months on end, where Maddie was just completely disengaged in class and she wouldn't even attempt to do any of the work in class, the homework, any of it. He said that at one point it got so bad that her grades just completely sunk, and then he had to speak to her and things got better. She worked on improving all of her grades. But I do think the fact that he noted that she was quiet and sleepy and disengaged, again, these are red flags when we put the whole piece together. But I think all of these teachers and counselors were just seeing one tiny piece of this puzzle here. Mr. Brett is also an important person in this case because a student told him that Maddie wanted to move to the woods when she turned 13. So this is when we start to get that dialogue where something was happening to Maddie, where she obviously had this dream and hope and goal of trying to leave her home, which again, most kids at 13 don't do that. Joel.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at some of these comments. By the way, they're asking COE, and I don't know if you know, but they're asking if the depositions, as far as I know, they're closed door. They're not in an open court. Is that right? Do we know?
I think they're supposed to be closed. We'll find out. We can find out.
Yeah.
And then the other final deposition tomorrow that's occurring is with the Orange County Sheriff Deputy Kenneth Dale. And I know many of you guys know this case, but he was also very important in this investigation because he was one of the deputies that responded to Maddie's mom's apartment and went to go search. He collected clothing and bedding from where they believe the essay occurred with Maddie and with Stephan Sterns. And they say that most of the items were actually collected downstairs in Jen Soto's room, not in Maddie's room, which is a makeshift room anyway. And then he also collected the gloves that were found in the wooded area. He got a call saying, "Hey, we need your help." So this deputy ran over there. They asked him to collect the gloves, and he handed that over for a forensic analysis. And then they had him go back to Maddie's apartment, to her mom's apartment, and search again because after they found Maddie's items in the trash, they wanted to see if they could connect all of this. So this deputy is important because he was able to find the Croc shoe that matched the Croc of Maddie that was found in the trash. So again, he's also going to be interviewed tomorrow. This is a deposition. They're interviewing 3 different witnesses. And then over the course of the next 3 to 4 weeks, they have another round of witnesses that they'll be interviewing. So that's the very latest on that. But what this show is really going to be focused on over the next 30 minutes is whether or not you think Maddie Soto's mom knew what was going on. And that's the really hard question. Like in any of these cases, even yesterday with the Alexander brothers, so many of us were saying, how could the family not know? How could friends not know? How could the wives not know? But in this case, when we're talking about a 13-year-old girl and we're looking at these photos of her and her mom, and we're just trying to imagine, I mean, this is just unfathomable because the mom is really supposed to be the person here to protect her child. So I'm going to pull up some video right now that I actually had pulled about 9 clips, and for some reason it is not uploading. So instead, I'm going to pull it here from Court TV. So give me a minute.
Yeah, while you're doing that, Tennis Girl 101, why didn't her bio dad do anything? So he was devastated upon getting the news. I believe he lives in Texas, but he definitely does not live in Florida. And so, he wasn't there. Apparently, they had a very good relationship, but he literally wasn't physically there to protect her. And I don't think he ever anticipated or realized things were as bad as they were. Nikki Cuds weighing in, friend of mine, friend of the show. I think it's up to the school therapist to notify the parents, or in this case, Maddie's awful mom. We need to be able to depend on our teachers and our therapists for some type of communication. There's a woman here who said that, apologies because I passed over your name quickly, but worked in the Massachusetts public school system. And she thinks that the school here did drop the ball. We don't know because we're not really privy to all the private information. And then you got Buttercup 203. Maddie kept it all inside her. As far as why is the mom not charged? I don't think that that's completely ruled out yet or ruled in. I think they're still working on this investigation. I know it's been close to a year, but no word yet on the specifics of that. COE, any luck with the vid? I think she's working on
I'm
it.
going to pull it up. Yep. Apologies. Okay, so I'm going to share this here. And again, so shout out to Court TV for having this posted here. But what's really disturbing as we listen to all of this is that everyone is trying to figure out where Jen Soto stands. Did she really know? Did she not know? What did she know? What did she think? What was a reality to her? And I think that's what we're all trying to figure out. I know many of you guys in the chat think she should be charged. I know I have my feelings about this, but I do think that with a case like this, it is, no matter what did or didn't happen, the fact that Jen Soto was there, was living there, and was entrusting her child with someone else. I mean, again, there is so much fault and there is so much negligence, regardless of how much of it she actually knew. So here's some of the audio. We're going to listen to this and then we're going to go over it.
My mom's a lot. The Miralax wasn't consistent.
Okay. All right. Now, Madeline, does she lay out her clothes for school the next day, or is that something she gets in the morning, makes a game time decision like my kid?
Typically, it is a game time decision morning of.
Okay. What about this specific evening? Do you remember anything about it?
Yes. This evening, we had, I had already discussed prior to Stephan coming to visit that he was going to help me take Maddie to school that day. So because I knew that that was what was going to happen that night, I had asked Maddie, pick out your clothes, have everything ready, have your backpack ready, your water bottle, everything you need ready so that way you could just grab your stuff and head out. It won't be too much of a hassle in the morning. And so she did. She picked out her clothing. I asked her what she was wearing, and she told me what she had picked out. I said, okay, fine.
All right, so she picks it out, but does she physically take it out of somewhere, wherever she stores her clothes, and put it somewhere?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure if she took that clothes upstairs with her or anything like that.
All right. So as far, you didn't see them in your room, and did you have the opportunity to kind of see her cubby part of the living room to see if she had put them on her bed or anything like that?
I hadn't seen them.
All right. So what's interesting about this, and we're going to get to some of the more interesting parts, I'm going to skip ahead, is that throughout these interviews with Jen Soto, and keep in mind, this is less than a month after her daughter went missing. She found out her daughter was being essayed and her daughter was found and murdered. And so with all of this, I just want to remind everyone that like her tone, her state of mind, the way she's defending or explaining or talking, it's just really interesting because again, if this was your child and this had happened just 3 weeks before, what kind of tone would you have? What kind of mental state would you be in? And so that's kind of the mind frame that I'm looking or taking while I'm looking at all of this. And Joel, something that I found really interesting is that there are some moments where she just has a recollection of so much detail. And then there are some things that the detective asks her and she just has no idea, like very basic, easy things. And then some things are just so specific. So let's get into some of the media part of this.
Yeah, COE, you asked me about this yesterday, real quick. So you'll notice the person's name is William J. Now, he was the homicide prosecutor, the lead prosecutor in Orange County that prosecuted the Sarah Boone case. I think this is him, and he might be asking questions because, again, the family was living in Kissimmee, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is Orange County, but the body was found in Osceola County.
Now, is this the first?
So I believe the trial is going to be in Osceola County, but it's just interesting. I can't imagine there's an other Will J. So I think this is the same homicide prosecutor as the Sarah Boone case.
All right, Joel, I have this here ready to go.
Let's roll it.
All right, here we go.
Leash on your dog, or is that something that has occurred before in the past?
I want to say this is the first time. It's not normal for any of us to put the leash on the dog on the bed, because if he's on top of any, like, bed, couch, anything, he'll pee. He gets really nervous. You have to do it on the floor. So I found it really weird that he did that. But
all right, so let me ask it a little more broadly. Is this the first time Stephan's ever come into your room while you're sleeping to take the dog out for you in the morning?
I can't recall if he's happened before.
Okay. Did you find it unusual then, or what did you think when this is occurring?
When it happened, I think I was more. I found it off, but I was more worried over the dog. I was like, please don't pee on the bed. I don't want to do laundry.
Okay.
So I was more anxious over that. He put the dog on the leash and told me to lay down and go back to sleep. And I said, okay.
So were you not laying down when he tells you to go back and lay down?
No, when he put the leash on the dog, I shot off the bed because I was going to help him. I was like, no, let me do it. And he's like, no, go back to sleep. I'm fine. I got this.
Okay.
I said, okay.
Now, do you go back to sleep, or do you check your phone or do anything?
I think I go back to sleep. I can look at anything.
In this period of time that you have been awoken by Stephan, do you hear or see anybody else in your household?
I hear somebody in the kitchen. I'm not sure who it was.
Okay. Could you identify it by size, like their steps? Could you identify gender by their voice? Anything like that?
All I heard was sounds of like cabinets shutting, like somebody in there shutting, like looking for something and shutting.
Okay. Now, if your daughter had been awake, would she come in and say goodbye to you before school, or not? Just let you sleep?
I would have hoped she would have come by and say goodbye to me. I can't remember if this is one of the first times that Stephan actually took her to school, so I would have hoped she would have said good night, but I'm not sure.
So that's really interesting. And we have a question here from Martina. Why did he come into her room with the dog and the leash if he didn't want her to help and wake her up? It makes no sense. And so again, all of these pieces are really weird in this puzzle of what happened and who knew what, Joel, because really it doesn't make sense. Jen had said that he rarely ever takes her to school, that this was one of the only few times that she can remember that. And then she doesn't really remember, the order of how things happened, of how she woke up, the dog being on a leash, the dog coming in her room on her bed. As the interview progresses, she continues to say that she really can't remember how many times he's actually taken her. So for her to take her and for her to not come in and not say goodbye just seemed like a very unusual thing. I know mornings are very hectic for many families, especially our family with 3 little kids, to say the very least. But in your routine or in your chaos, you still sort of know what's going on. And kids also have their routine. And like if Joel takes the kids or I take the kids, like we sort of remember or know those things. So I thought it was very weird in this specific case that Jen seemed to remember certain details about the dog and the leash, even though she was half asleep, and then can't remember certain things like how many times or if he's ever actually taken her to school before this day.
Yeah, those are all great questions, and I think that's obviously what the interviewer is trying to get at here. By the way, if anyone can help solve the Will J mystery, please do that, because now Vesper Martini tells me Kissimmee, which is where they lived is also in Osceola. So Will J should technically not be doing anything, I guess, with this case because he is an Orange County prosecutor, unless Court TV, and thank you for the video, but unless they accidentally named whoever the interview is, or if Osceola has a detective named Will J, which would be very odd to have a prosecutor in Orange County and then this guy in Osceola. But she also sounds, like the one thing I'm thinking of is she sounds nothing like you or Carm. Like if you were being interviewed, you would have very definitive statements, very definitive recollections, and she seems like she's being really careful with her words. I guess that's a good way to put it. She's being cautious with the way I think she answers things. And someone mentioned in the chat, and it's true, when she reached out to Stephan Sterns' parents after his arrest, she told them, "You better get him an attorney." So it's hard to say, like, who was she more concerned about, her boyfriend or Maddie Soto, which is really sad considering that was her daughter.
Well, and another thing you're talking about, like her demeanor. If it were Carm or I, and our child had just gone missing, and then we found out that they were murdered, and this is 3 weeks later. I mean, I don't know about Carm, but I know I would also be hysterical. I would be distraught going through all of this, having to relive every step would just be so emotionally draining, exhausting, and quite honestly traumatic as you're still trying to like deal with the reality that your daughter is gone. This is April 18th, 2024. So this is yeah, a little over a month.
And by the way, I think this was
A
released
month and a half, actually.
and COE, this was released fairly recently, like through a public records request. Is that right?
This was released in the last month. Yeah, and there's a very long yeah, there are new body cam footage videos that are out, and then there are also these interrogation videos, and these were the not the initial police interviews because we saw those on camera, but these were the follow-up interviews where they then went step by step asking Jen Soto about everything that happened. And again, as you guys know, there have been it's an unusual case in the sense that a lot of this has been caught on camera, in the sense that Jen Soto and Stephan Sterns decided to go on the news. We saw them immediately when Maddie went missing. We saw them change what they were saying initially. We saw them change their behavior. We saw them crying or trying to cry. And now, April 18, 2024, this is a month and a half after her daughter has been killed. She now has a very different I mean, people are saying fake. She now has a very different demeanor. She does. And you're right. She says, "I don't know," a lot of the times. She's silent. She says, "I don't know." She says she can't recall. She says she can't remember. But then if you ask her about, random things about Stephan Sterns, like she remembers things that she probably shouldn't remember.
Yeah. Super Planner Girl here letting us know it is Will J, the division chief of the homicide unit. And then, and he's fantastic, by the way, very smart guy. And Vesper Martini filling in the blanks. It's confusing. The DA, Andrew Bain from Orange County, brought the charges against Sterns. So that's interesting. I don't know if it's because they went through Orange County. I don't know the technicalities. And then thank you to Catherine. And by the way, Space Coast gave 5 memberships. So kudos to Space Coast, who's on the West Coast.
Okay. And now here is more sound. And now we're starting to get a little deeper into the story. Here we go.
Yes, Stephan was home.
All right. And can you describe what he's wearing, what he's doing, his demeanor, what's going on?
I can't recall what he's wearing. It might be a red shirt with a graphic on it.
Okay.
He's sitting in my bedroom on my desk.
Prior to you getting there, he's in your room? Or is that where you guys go to talk?
That he was hanging out there in my room.
Okay.
my room is kind of like the general hangout spot.
Okay.
I walk into my room. He's sitting there on the computer chair. He's talking, acting normal, asking about the morning and how everything went, and that he let me know the errands that he ran that morning or what he was up to.
And what did he say he was up to?
He said he had dropped Maddie off at school and then afterwards went to a vape shop so he can buy vaping things.
Okay.
But that the store wasn't open, so he waited a long time for them to open. They never did. So he drove around, killed time, and then eventually made it back to my house at like 10:20. When later on, when I got home and he was home, we started discussing, or he started telling me that he was going to go back out to run a few more errands in a little bit down 182. And he gave me the name of a few stores that he might stop at. I'm like, okay. I asked him if he wanted to meet me at my house by 2:30 so that we can go pick up Maddie from school together. And he said, yeah, he'll be back by 2:30. And I said, okay.
So was that the plan?
I just also think it's weird that some of the details that she gives are just too convenient. So earlier she said that she can't remember if Stephan Sterns had taken Maddie to school ever, and this may have been the only time. And then conveniently she remembers that they also had plans to go pick her up together. So it just seems like all of these little details are weird, that things are like, lining up, when really if he randomly was just showing up, then I feel like it wouldn't make any sense.
COE, I had an idea. Obviously, you and I are not detectives or homicide prosecutors, and STS Nation, let me know. Friday, FIL Waters, Detective Phil Waters, is going to be with us. Phil Ramos was filling in for Scott Duffy, but now Phil Ramos, he has to be in court for a hearing on Friday, and I'm going to get another investigator. So let me know if you want Phil Waters to watch this, and he can break it down from his 35 plus years experience in interviewing people. So let me know if you guys are interested in that as the COE cues up the next bit of sound.
Okay. Here we go. So now they've asked Jen Soto about what happened leading up. She said that obviously Stephan Sterns had given her a plan of what he was going to do. He ended up not showing up. She said that she went to the school. She was the first person in carpool line, and she couldn't find Maddie. She said she happened to take Maddie's phone and was trying to call her and forgot that she had her phone. And she said that she didn't know where she was. Now we're skipping ahead where the interview turns to, hold on right here, where the interview turns to the police asking her a little bit about the history between Maddie and Stephan. Here we go.
Sleepovers.
All right, so I'm going to kind of jump ahead. Did Madeline ever complain to you about believing that Stephan had taken her Christmas money?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Christmas money went missing. And we were both, I don't even know how to explain this. We had collected all of her envelopes with Christmas money and consolidated into one. I'll put all her money into one.
Yeah.
And then I said, I will put this somewhere safe. And I thought I had put it in my nightstand. A few days later comes around, whatever. We start looking for it or asking for it or something like that, and we can't find it. We can't find it at all.
So let me just narrow it down. Did she accuse Stephan of taking it?
I'm not sure if she did directly. We both had the suspicion, but we're like, no, could he have? No, I don't think so. But I eventually found that money.
Okay, I was just gonna, how did the mystery end? All right, so you had just started this job at Disney Coronado Springs like a week or two earlier, is that right?
Yes.
And your sister and other family members would help with Maddie getting to school because of your job?
Yes, my mom, my sister, yes.
Okay. Why is it that now Stephan on February 26th is coming up to help as opposed to any of your family members helping getting Madeline to school?
I had asked for him to come and help me because I think I was working a lot of night shifts or like really late shifts. And I just wanted the opportunity to see Maddie, like, because I wanted to spend more time with my daughter throughout the week while I was working, versus had she stayed at my mom's, I wouldn't have seen her all week.
Okay.
So that was just me wanting to see her and spend time with her.
Did Madeline stay at your mom's house fairly frequently?
Every few weekends here and there, like just for the weekend kind of thing.
So like if she described it to her friends as like her second home and like kind of offer up it's better jacuzzi and pool, does that sound like that's the place?
Yes.
Where does Madeline sleep when she's over at your mom's?
She will sleep in bed with my mom.
Okay. Did she ever have sleepovers? Like have friends come over and sleep over?
Slumber parties, no.
Did she ever go and attend any?
No.
Is there any particular reason? I mean, she's a 12-year-old girl on the cusp of being 13.
Yeah, I've been very uncomfortable with sleepovers just because I know what can happen. Anything can happen at a sleepover.
Well, then you can be the host house like we kind of were. You never hosted any sleepovers for her friends?
For her friends, no.
Did she ask about it?
Yeah, she did ask.
Was it probably a source of contention or arguments?
It was, I guess what was the source of argument is she wanted to really sleep over her best friend's house, and I just kept saying, no, you never know what could happen. I don't know the dad, I don't know the brother, I don't know anybody there. Like, I don't know what could happen to you. So, just afraid of her getting assaulted.
Did Madeline do her own laundry?
Yeah.
Did she cook for herself?
I was teaching her how to make a few things, so I mean, yeah, she could, I guess.
Okay. What's her normal routine for getting ready for bed?
So Joel, that was a little interesting. The behavior of a normal 13-year-old, and not everyone, I guess some kids don't do sleepovers. My 9-year-old actually happens to hate sleepovers. But usually, if you're 13, you have friends, you have at least a friend that you confide in, that you want to hang out with, that you want to have sleepovers with. I know our 5th grader loves having sleepovers. We have kids sleeping here pretty much every weekend on Fridays and Saturdays. And to hear something like this, just if you're a mom, if you're not a mom, if you're a parent, if you remember your own childhood, you wanted to hang out with your friends. You would ask for that, like that. It was a fun time. And while obviously it can be dangerous, and there are concerns whenever you're anywhere, but the fact that Maddie's mom, Jennifer Soto, was so focused in on SA and what could go wrong elsewhere, when this is the very thing that happened in her own home, in her own bed, with her own boyfriend, is just really hard to grasp.
Yeah, I almost made the mistake of actually like I have to keep a bit of a guard up when I'm listening to this stuff, because otherwise I feel like I'm going to start to weep and not be able to stop. Because if you really think about it, what happened to this little girl is beyond. I mean, this is why Phil Waters says that there is real evil in this world. You're seeing it on display in this case. Vesper Martini here. I happen to agree with her. The SA case is set for a jury trial for February 24th. That's in a few weeks. She says it probably won't go forward, and I tend to think the same thing, because they have only so many resources and money allocated to try cases. I think they can either put these into the murder case or do the murder case first. That would make more sense to me. So I would not be surprised to see it continued in that way. Lorna McKenzie here with a great comment. The only place Maddie was in danger was in her own home. And it's what the COE was just saying. I mean, both our daughters love sleepovers at that age. Both my girls had friends sleep over like every weekend. Shame Maddie couldn't experience it. What this young girl went through, again, is really hard to, it really is. It sounds like a cliche, but it's really hard to imagine. And, I would not be upset to find out that Jen Soto is charged if investigators find reason to charge her. Let's put it that way.
Well, and I think what's interesting here too is that some of what is being released right now with these audio interviews, we've actually already read or we've reported on because the reports were released. But to hear her say those words, to hear her tone, to hear the delivery, to hear the fact that there is no emotion in that, that's what's really hard. I was listening to these last night, and as disturbing and disgusting and hard as it is to listen to this, especially since we do have an almost 11-year-old daughter who is in that age range, I thought we had to do this show because it is really important to show what was actually happening and to try to understand who knew what. And I know that that's the detectives' jobs, and the prosecutors, I'm sure, are going through and getting all of the evidence that they need for this case. But in any of these cases that we discuss, I mean, it really is hard to understand that so many people saw red flags, or so many people knew or didn't know, and yet here we are talking about a victim, and this victim is that beautiful little girl on the right side there. This is Maddie Soto. She was 13 years old. She was in the 7th grade, just starting middle school. She had her entire life ahead of her, and the hard part is that she may have had a very rough life ahead of her, with everything that we know that happened to her.
By the way, this is a very difficult story, but if you appreciate the content, please like, subscribe. Please let people know about the second channel. It's going to be all word of mouth. We want to build it up. We will build it up over time. And I'm not going to let my kids out of the house till they're 37 years old. They're safe in my house, but I don't know that I'll let them out into the real world till at least 37. There's something here I just want to cover real quick, COE, because I think this is important. You may or may not remember somewhat toward the beginning of this investigation. It might have been a few months in. The sheriff's office accidentally, somehow, I think on their Instagram page, posted a photo of Maddie Soto's naked body, I believe. And the sheriff now of that county, Osceola County, his name is Marcos Lopez. He's been added onto what is known as the Florida Brady List. And that is a record of law enforcement officers found to have credibility issues. It stems from a landmark 1963 U.S. Supreme Court case, Brady versus Maryland, in case you want to look that up. But basically, there could be implications for the Maddie Soto case in terms of testimony. His credibility as a witness is now formally called into question. The deputies under him may be compromised because of this. And the defense is going to certainly argue that some of the evidence collected is now tainted as a result. So there's a lot of potential problems with the state's case because of this, what is believed to be a mistake, but how you could post something like that on an official Instagram page with a case like this is beyond me, but there are repercussions. So again, this sheriff is on what is known as the Brady List. It is Sheriff Marcos Lopez, Osceola County. And COE, in no way am I rushing you, but I'm going to have to roll in about 7 minutes. Otherwise, my son is going to miss T-ball, and that cannot happen 2 weeks in a row.
I also have to take your daughter to gymnastics. But I did want to...
COE, on a lighter note, why don't you tell everybody COE for the 9-year-old's birthday, otherwise known as Z-Bugs. She is an amazing gymnast. She just started. My middle daughter, I got to say, is incredibly coordinated. And
Joel,
so
there's one more important piece of audio.
we're going to get to it. And the COE, so my daughter insisted on getting a gymnastics bar. I don't know what it's called other than that. It has been in my living room since the purchase about 5 weeks ago. Anyway, last night, COE, you tried to do that. What happened?
No, I successfully did do it. I did. What is
I want
it
to see
called?
that tonight. But you told me I had to get you ginger ale and stomach medication. You were not feeling well afterwards.
Yeah, so I did try to do. I forget what it is. You like cast up and you kick your legs back, and then you spin your legs around, and you just do like a backwards loop. My daughter had to help me and push me a few times after like 2 or 3 tries. I did do it, but when I spun backwards over the bar and I landed, I was so dizzy that I could not see anything. Like everything went black. I think it was maybe vertigo that came back. But yes, I did it and we succeeded. Anyway, though, Joel, I don't want to end on
Go
that.
off on
I do
my
wanna-
tangents. Go ahead, COE.
Yeah. Okay,
This
don't
is your
worry,
show,
everyone.
COE.
I know. Next time, I'm not bringing you back. I'm going to have someone else. Don't worry. Gigi's going to be here with me on Thursday, and we'll have a serious show to go over some stuff.
Look,
but I
now,
do want to.
now, if I said that to you, I would get so much hate mail. But now that you said that to me, you will get notes of encouragement. Double
You're fine, you're fine.
standard. Go ahead, Bugs.
No, so I do want to end on this because this is important and also disturbing. And again, it just shows the mentality of Jen Soto, and it shows what she was thinking and what was in the back of her mind as she is explaining what she was interpreting when Maddie would potentially go to other people's homes. So this is really important here, and then we'll wrap it up, Joel. Here we go.
In Texas? Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember texting the biological father, hope nobody touches Maddie or tries it or films her under the bathroom? You remember sending that text?
No.
Because that seems like a very oddly specific thing to text the father. So you didn't know anything about what was going on filming underneath bathroom doors?
No idea. I don't know why I would have texted that.
June 16th of last year, about 9:30 p.m.
Oh, actually, I can actually think back to that.
Okay. What?
I think around the time that Maddie was going to fly out to Houston, there had been an airline person that had gone into the bathroom and placed their camera on the toilet to film. And I remember thinking, I don't want Maddie, I'm afraid of Maddie being alone on the plane because what if an attendant does that to her? Says, hold on, let me fix something in the bathroom. And in reality, they're setting up a camera. This did happen to a girl.
Okay.
So I want to say it may have been concerns over that.
Okay. Now, June 16th of last year at 9:30 p.m. and 27 seconds, you texted Stephan this: Maddie's no longer sleeping with me. I can't risk it. What does that mean? How often was Maddie sleeping with you?
Often, all the time.
Well, you keep on saying often versus all the time. Was it 100% of the time or not 100% of the time?
If she wasn't with my mom and she was with me, then yeah, she was sleeping with me.
Okay. And if she's at mom, she's 100% of the time sleeping with mom? Your mom?
With my mom, or she does have her own room, I guess. Like there's another spare room she could use, but for the most part, she prefers to sleep with my mom.
Okay.
All right, so that was interesting for 2 reasons. One, we're still unclear who Maddie actually slept with and how often Jen Soto was or wasn't there, because as you guys just saw, every time they ask her something, she doesn't know the answer or she can't remember, or all of a sudden it's a little fuzzy. And then the second part, or the first part of that was interesting because she had texted, and we don't know if this is her texting her Maddie's biological father, or if this was Stephan texting Maddie's biological father, but someone used Jen Soto's phone to text Maddie's biological father when Maddie was visiting him in Texas to say to be careful because she didn't want Maddie getting essayed and she didn't want anyone taking their phone and putting it under a door and recording Maddie as she undresses inside of a bathroom or bedroom, which is extremely specific. That is also extremely similar to a complaint that Jen Soto's roommates had filed or had told police about Stephan Sterns. Maddie lived with her mom, obviously Jen Soto, and Jen Soto, Stephan Sterns, and Maddie lived there, but Jen Soto also had roommates that lived with them as well. And they said that oftentimes Stephan Sterns would leave his phone at the bottom of the door, and you have that little space there. And with that space, he was able to capture images. And so for her to text the biological father this, I mean, Joel, that just shows she
honestly,
obviously was concerned about something, and a normal, I don't know if any of us are normal parents, but a parent that is not exposed to this, I don't think would have such a specific text. Like I would be concerned about things, but I wouldn't say that.
this is the one exchange right here that we just listened to where I'm starting to think that Jen Soto is going to be charged. Because you heard Will J say that's really specific. She's saying that she was concerned about Maddie being filmed under the door. COE, did you say that she sent that text to Maddie's biological father when she was going there? Okay, so that means it was, in my opinion, that means that she knew it was happening where she was and didn't want it to happen elsewhere, which is like a weird admission of guilt without admitting it. And when asked a follow-up question, if you heard her, you didn't hear her because she stayed completely silent. Also, going back to the last video, I mean, who takes their girlfriend's 13-year-old daughter's Christmas money? That's obviously a massive red flag. But she said she was talking in this clip, Jen, about Maddie no longer sleeping with me, that she can't risk it. Again, like to me, that is a sort of an admission that she's been risking it and knows that she's been risking it by letting her daughter sleep with Stephan Sterns. So, I mean, I don't know what the threshold is, COE, for, indicting or filing charges, but at the very least, this is negligence. And at the very best, she's complicit. And by best, I mean worse. She's complicit in all this. So, this drives me crazy. One last thing, the roommate you mentioned, because it's important, her name is Angelica Negro. She does not speak English. So police told her through a Spanish interpreter that Stephan Sterns had taken photos and video of her from beneath the door, which appears to be his MO. And then she said the night before she went missing, also in Spanish, that she heard odd movements around the house, that she saw weird tools, including a hammer, and that Stephan Sterns was washing clothes. And she also heard the sound of a power tool. None of that is normal. This is the night before she's reported missing. So it sounds like Stephan Sterns is in this Kissimmee apartment doing things to dispose of Maddie Soto, which we now know happened sometime in this time frame or early the next morning. This case is really, really tough. I mean, Canine Catherine, you're not the only one. I can only kind of think of it. I can't allow my brain to go below sort of a surface level. Otherwise, again, I will not let my kids out of my sight till they're 37. She can be charged, I think, at any point. There's no statute of limitations on homicide. I'm not saying she would be charged with homicide, but it sure sounds like she knew a lot about what was going on.
Oh, no, sorry, Joel. No, I was going to say, Ned Smith brought it up. The concern, though, is immunity and what she's willing to testify about.
That's a great point. I mean, that the prosecutors are leaning on her. Will J is definitely leaning on her. And what kind of deal they work out, I have no idea. But COE, I want to publicly commend you on putting together a fantastic first show, for inviting me on. I hope I will be invited back on at a future date, even though you've already ditched me. Oh, thank you.
For a while.
Thank you. So good job.
You brought me bad luck My videos didn't work. My graphics didn't work. Our Wi-Fi went out at the top of the show. The dogs were barking. I had to chase them before the show.
COE, do you
Do
still
not
have an
worry.
X account? Because you need an X account to tweet out links like I do, and you need your Instagram account. You should give that out so people can follow you.
All right. Well, you can be my producer now.
Okay. So am I allowed to give out your Insta?
No. I mean, people follow me, but Joel, we can have this discussion later.
I think we should have it now. It's fine. I have to go get Judah.
Okay. Wait, give me 1 minute. So again, thank you to everyone. This was a little bit of a soft launch. Apologies for our video having some issues there. But again, these are really important audio interviews. Court TV has much more of that if you want to watch a lot of that. Hidden True Crime, Lauren Matthias also has some body cam footage if you guys want to see some reactions of Jen Soto as police are interrogating her as well. So a lot of people are covering this story. We're going to continue to cover it. We're going to break it down in an organized fashion, and we are going to have some of our best guests comment on this. And also on any other news that comes up. But again, I do think it's important that we remember Maddie Soto. She was 13 years old. She was dealt a very difficult life. If your mother is not watching after you, then who is and who will? And that's the really tricky part, is that this is a very sensitive case. This is a very difficult case. And it's a case where Maddie Soto was in a position that obviously none of us would ever want anyone to be in. So let's definitely remember Maddie Soto. Let's hope for justice. And if you guys hear of any news with this case or any other big cases, please remember that you can always email Joel and I, survivingthesurvivor@gmail.com. And again, we'll continue to cover this. Thanks so much. We have another show on this channel.
Let me tell a quick 9-second story. I have to get this. So the COE and I met in Tucson, Arizona. The COE was an amazing reporter. And I don't have to tell you, she's easy on the eyes. So a news director said, "Hey, I need a weather person." And let's put it this way. She didn't take her career as seriously as I did, but she was naturally gifted. So the news director said, "Do you want to do the weather?" And the COE is like, "Yeah, I'll do the weather." And so the first night she did the weather, literally myself, Fonzie, who was my photographer, and like 5 other guys who knew the COE really well. We were so nervous for her that she was going to do the weather, because she literally had never done the weather, had no idea how to do the weather. And I was having trouble breathing. And I sort of had that feeling at the beginning of this show, but just like the weather, she did a great job. The COE went on to get a master's in meteorology at Mississippi State, which lasted about 3 days, but she still can do the weather on a weather wall. That is my final closing argument statement for the day. COE, you did a great job.
I also went on to be a network correspondent, Joel. Thank you. And for the record, I was on all the weather promos because they liked my weather reports. So there you go.
Yeah, you brought in viewers.
Joel was out in the field covering the weather, and I was in studio. So
look at this Black Widow yelling at me, saying that you're very capable. I know she's very capable. I just said she's very capable. Ned Smith, you are a yeah. She sure was. I'll tell you, that day when she did it, I was terrified. I was like, this is going to be a disaster. But it wasn't. COE, I have to get Judah.
I also have to get your kids. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. We don't have a show open or a show closed. We're working on it, but we are going to be bringing you more stories starting with Thursday. Gigi and I are going to be co-hosting a show. We were going to do it on Corey Richins, but Joel decided to hijack that show today. So instead, we will probably be discussing the very latest on Lori Vallow. We'll keep you guys updated. Thanks so much. Please remember to subscribe and hit the like button. All right. Take care.